So far, we've talked about the divider-selector method for up to 3 people, but obviously in the real world, there'll be often more than 3 people trying to split something. So this video will cover the divider-selector method for an arbitrary n amount of people. So rather than trying to describe the method in abstract terms, I've just written an example for 7 people, and hopefully that will make it more concrete what to do with even more people. So I've written the table here, and you can assume the item is a pizza or whatever, but it's worth $70. And so we've seen that A is our divider here because all of his shares are equal. He made sure to cut the 7 pieces so that each of them is worth $10 to him. Now the rest of the people, this data I just filled in, and the data is such that it's going to help us kind of see the different cases. So now let's look at how B and C, what they would write for their fair shares when they're writing their lists. Well, we see that for a fair share in this game, it has to be 10 or over, and the only thing that works for them is piece 1. So they both need to write piece 1 in their list. Now what about D and E? For them, it's piece 2 that they need. Every other piece is not going to do it for them. So they're going to write piece 2. Now what about person F? For person F, pieces 1 and 2 will do it for him, but all the other ones will not. So he has to write 1 and 2. And what about person G? Well, he only puts value in piece number 3. Everything else has no value, so he must write piece number 3. Now, we have all of these selectors, and we have to see who gets priority. So G will obviously get priority in piece number 3 because nobody else wants it and because that's the only thing that'll give him a fair share. So by the rules of the game, he is just automatically granted piece 3. Now, what about A? Well, A, we've seen in the previous games that A's piece is when there's a conflict like we have here because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players who are all kind of arguing for 2 pieces. The divider just gets assigned a random piece, or the piece that everybody deems least valuable. So can we decide on a piece that's least valuable in this game? Well, let's see. Our player E deems piece 6 least valuable at 3. Will everyone else agree with that? Well, person D, he deems all 3 of these pieces least valuable, so he says, you know, why not piece 6? Person C says, yep, that's true for me, piece 6. Person B says, yeah, all these pieces are the same, so piece 6. So in the end, he will be given piece 6. So A gets piece 6, and G gets piece 3. Now keep in mind that if they could not agree on a least valuable piece, then one would be assigned at random. So this is good, we're making progress. So person A and person G are taken care of, and that's how you want to do it with more than 3 players. You want to try to reduce this to as small a case as possible. So now, let's see what is remaining. So person B, how much value is left in their pizza? Well, it's 50, 53. We do not count this because this piece 3 is given away. So it's 53, 56, 59. Again, this is given away. So it's going to be 64. So then we do that for the rest of the people. And I've drawn here the new table. So you see on the left-hand side, we have players B through F who have yet to be assigned a piece. And in parentheses, I've written how much worth is left to them in the rest of the pizza. So we see that B, as we saw before, has $64 left. C, D, and E each have $63 left. And F only has $58 worth of pizza left. So now we kind of just play this game all over again. So B is our new divider, and he makes 5 pieces, which are all equal in worth to him, as the dividers should do. And the rest of the people fill in data of how much each piece is worth to them. So now, if we're going to write down the fair share lists for players C through F, what are we going to write? Well, for C, we see that 3, 4, or 5 are a fair share for him because they're all over 10. So we'll write 3, 4, and 5. Now, for player D, what's the fair share for him? We see that it's only piece 5. And for E, well, it's only piece 5 again. For F, it's only piece 5. So we see again this conflict brewing on the horizon, where we have these 3 players conflicting for this single piece. But something that we can do is look at C. He has 5 listed as a fair share as well, but he is also open to 3 and 4. So since he is more flexible, by the rules of the game, he will be granted one of these pieces at random. So let's say he's given piece 3. So he is given piece 3. And now what about B? Again, we have to see if these other players can decide on a least valuable piece. So the conflicting players, D, E, and F, can they decide on a least valuable piece? Well, for D, what's his least valuable piece? It's going to be piece 1. Does E agree with that? He says, yeah, sure. I mean, they're all worth 1 here, so why not piece 1? F says, yeah, they're all worth 0, so why not piece 1? So again, they can agree, but it's important to know if they cannot agree, it can be done at random. So that means B is given piece 1. And now this is great, because now we're able to reduce this 5 by 5 case into an even smaller 3 by 3 case, which we've already dealt with in previous videos. So now let's see how this is going to look. Let's see how much of the pizza is left for each of the players D, E, and F. So D has how much left? He has 1 and 1, so that's 2 and 60, so 62. He has 62 left. E has 1, 1, and 59, so he has 61 left. And F has all the 58 left. So we have 62, 61, and 58, and now we're just going to play this game again. So now we're going to say D is our divider, and he's going to divide it into 3 equal shares, each worth 2067, about. And E and F are going to write their value systems based on the pieces that's been cut. So now let's see what's going to happen. What's a fair share for E? Well, it's going to be 1 or 2. What's a fair share for F? Well, it's going to be 2 or 3. And these are because 40, 20, 20, and 30 are all greater than 10, so they're all fair shares. Now, we have reached a point where we can successfully give away one piece to everybody, and everybody will be happy. So even though E and F both share piece 2 in their list, we can still give them pieces 1 or 3 because they're not conflicting over that. So we can say E is given piece 1, F can be given piece 3, and then D, the divider, can be given the remaining piece 2. So now, between all this data, we have how much value is given to each person. So let's write it in this comprehensive table right here. So A, the initial divider, is given $10 worth of pizza. G, in the initial round, was given $70 worth of pizza. B, we see here, is granted $12.8. C, we see over here is granted $20. D, from over here, is granted 20.67. E is granted 40. And F is granted 30. So the thing to check is that are all of these numbers greater than or equal to 10? And they are. And that means that everybody is getting a fair share, which means by the initial assumptions of the game, everybody should be happy. Of course, there are some people who are getting less than others. A might be a might be a little bit sad because he's only getting $10, and G probably is very, very happy because he's gotten the full value of his pizza. But the point is, everybody has gotten 10 or more dollars worth of pizza, and that is how it has been divided into fair shares amongst everybody.